Can we please just take a moment to appreciate that Noor very well might be one of the dumbest anime characters known to man? And I don't think many people would have it any other way. I figured it would be minor healing would be the way he gets out of that whole predicament. What I wasn't expecting, nor do I think anyone was expecting, is that the way his minor healing got busted was through self-poisoning. This man, okay, granted, he was a kid, didn't have parents around, accidentally poisoned himself by picking shit to eat. That's believable. Oh, he was using minor healing, and repeatedly using that, you could assume maybe he got, better and better to the point that he made a low-level skill busted. But the fact that it became so much more that literally the next day after being okay, a poisonous snake bit his ass, and then he This episode was simultaneously delicious and dungeon, alongside just having Noor be the dumbest character known to man. I love how simple he is, because when you leave last episode, you see him coughing up blood, it's not looking good, you know he's gonna make it, of course. And then quickly into this episode, you see him heal this Rollo character, and I'm like, oh, that's probably why he's hurt, because he can only use the healing on one person at a time. And the fact that he can just be like, no, I'm good. I'm used to poison. I love eat. I got a craving for the poisonous food. If you threw Noor in Delicious in Dungeon, the fact that he would fit in is just hilarious. But this legitimately might be the dumbest character that I hope never becomes smart. Because bless his heart, I have full live reactions over on Patreon. If you want to see my full link up top to any of these episodes, it's over there exclusively. So, there's a lot to dive into. There is the emotional heartbreak and trauma of Rollo's life. You have then the backstory with all the poison BS with Noor. But then you also have the kind of end of the episode before, obviously, this goofball tries to jump her ass, where everyone's kind of conflicted because, last episode, you can very much see, there is a clear hatred for demon folk, to the point that you don't save them, you attack them, or if not, kill them. Maybe, of course, these two don't agree with slavery, but, at the end of the day, they are a part of a race that just is not liked. But they start the episode in a tragic, tragic way, and just right away, you realize that this kid's been through some things. There's this scene, I think it's around the 17-minute mark, give or take, where Noor goes and places a hand on Rollo's head. And you can just tell with the way, the mannerisms and everything, that that's probably the first time in Rollo's entire life that they had a hand placed on them and it wasn't physical abuse. And that just breaks my heart, because the person who beat and bruised and pig slop for food, and dare you ask a question, you don't get pig slop for 3 days, only a little water. And then by the time, you're finally given a chance, hey, you should go do this, go take this poisonous dragon. If you don't, your life's going to be even worse than it was here. Oh, thank you, master. That is such a pleasant offer. Go F yourself, you absolute buffoon. But just the heartbreak and the anguish and how it makes you just visibly and it's uncomfortable. It makes you feel what the hell? And how far can we rush him to killing this guy? Seriously, just absolute scumbag. And then you see it from Noor's side, because having that backstory and then transitioning into the first person who probably ever jumped in to save you, you're literally saying, thank you, I can't wait to die, hopefully in my next life, maybe I'll get better food. It's tragic. And they did such a good job immediately with characterizing and getting us up to speed on this character, and it makes Noor jumping in to protect even more impactful. Because already, I wasn't agreeing with them last week saying, oh, just let the kid die. No, very clearly, I wasn't getting bad vibes. And even if I did have bad vibes, I mean, probably there was reasons for manipulation or something like that. And then to see Noor's stuff and the contrast, you have tears of sorrow with the backstory on Rollo, and then you have tears of laughter with Noor. It's brilliant, because what ends up happening is they do mention how he probably does have this, I forget what they called it, but it's kind of this magical aura that, it could take 40 years for some people to master. And very much, I believe he probably does have a similar thing, just through getting his ass bit by a poisonous... At one point, he grabs it, and he willingly lets it... He's an idiot. And I love him. I think there's justifiable reasons for him being an idiot. Literally no education, no family, and he had to casually learn on the fly. And the fact that every step of his life, when he's like, oh, this makes sense, no one was there to correct him, right? But I love the idea that his simple-minded nature and just the fact that he can go up against something that was literally spewing miasma. And he's like, I love poisonous food. This man looked at that giant dragon-looking frog thing and said, oh, this kid is trying to bring fresh meat to the town. I ruined Christmas. How can you not just laugh your ass off watching the insanity that is this show? Because it's absolutely brilliant. I love it. It is so freaking funny. But what I love about Noor is that I had my doubts, but I actually think he will be a good teacher for this girl. Because the idea that, you know, she's had a dad who taught her to trust things with your eyes rather than what people tell you. So in this case, it's like, hey, just because everyone's, you know, saying screw this race, essentially just having pure on racism, I'm gonna trust my own eyes. And the person she wants to call daddy is basically teaching her the same thing. So both father figures in her life are pretty much teaching her to be a better person, and she's learning things. You know, I had to make that joke. But, like, legitimately, this is a guy who's actually going against the normal way of life in this world. Not only does he use a Excalibur blade to shovel sewer grates, he also is just like, yeah, I want to take this kid with me. I want to get him to the nearest town. I do think it's probably going to turn out to be a gender bend reveal, because I thought guy, but then I was like, oh man, everyone's saying guy, so they're very clearly going to like do some bait and switch where it turns out to be a girl. But either way, like, I like the impression that this is like, if anything, it's just someone who needs help. Like, I don't get the impression that this is, like, trying to build some harem or anything weird like that. Like, I actually appreciate what they're doing with Noor's character. He's dumb. He might be one of the stupidest characters. But the fact that he's just a gentle giant is just fantastic. And I think most of us probably walked in expecting that he was going to use minor heal and get out of this. But the fact that there was that extra element of he poisoned himself repeatedly over his life, to the point that he now loves poisonous food, was the extra twist I didn't know I needed, but it elevates the show once again to that next level. If it would have just been minor healing, and the reason he wasn't casting it on himself was because he can only cast it on one person at a time, I would have been perfectly okay with that and said, yep, that's perfect, that makes sense. But they went the extra mile. And then they went the extra mile with giving me a backstory already and making me emotionally invested in Rolo. So I'm just left saying, this show's a freaking banger, and I can't believe how good it's turned out by only episode 6. Let me know what you're thinking down below. Be sure to leave a like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new around here, of course ring that bell, and like I mentioned, we got those full live reactions over on Patreon, and hey, while you're over there, I'll also give you a video shout out. Alright, so today we got Cedric Bergens, Day Fox, Renee Valriel, CZC, and we also have Albion. So I appreciate the support, everyone. Please take care, and you all have a good one.